Welcome to your favorite channel, where silence speaks and stories echo through time. In a land of giants and walls that touched the sky, one city dared to defy the God of Israel. Before the battle was ever fought, there was silence, obedience, and faith. The Israelites had wandered the wilderness for 40 years. Now they stood at the edge of the promised land. One city stood in their way, Jericho, a mighty fortress surrounded by towering walls and fear-hardened hearts. But this wasn't going to be an ordinary war. As Joshua walked alone one evening, he saw a man standing before him, sword drawn. "Are you for us or for our enemies?" Joshua asked. "Neither. I am the commander of the Lord's army." Joshua fell face down. This was no ordinary man. This was a divine messenger, and with him came a message. Sometimes, the battle we see with our eyes is not the real fight. Joshua had to first bow in humility before the Lord's army commander, a reminder that spiritual surrender always comes before victory. The strongest warriors are those who first kneel. The commander issued the instructions: march around the city, once a day, for 6 days, in silence. On the 7th day, march 7 times, then blow the trumpets and shout. It made no military sense, but it was God's command. For 6 days they marched without a word, no shouts, no threats, just obedience. This silence was not weakness, it was trust. Sometimes God's plan doesn't require noise, but quiet faith. Faith that walks even when results aren't visible. Inside the city, Jericho trembled. The people had heard of Israel's God. They had heard of the Red Sea, of Egypt, of the victories in the wilderness. Now they watched, helpless, from behind thick stone walls as Joshua's army approached. Day after day, they circled the city. Not a word was spoken. The priests carried the ark. The soldiers followed in silence. From atop the walls, Jericho's citizens grew more uneasy with each passing day. There were no swords drawn. No threats were shouted. Just faith in motion. On the 7th day, they marched not once, but 7 times. On the 7th lap, the priests raised their horns. The command was given: shout, for the Lord has given you the city. A thunderous blast filled the air. The earth shook, and Jericho's mighty walls collapsed, not from force, but from faith. The Israelites charged in. The city that once looked invincible now lay in ruins, just as God had promised. When the trumpet sounded and the people shouted, the volume didn't bring the wall down. It was obedience. It was timing. It was God. Jericho didn't fall because of military might. It fell because heaven had already spoken. But amid the destruction, one house stood untouched: the home of Rahab, the woman who had hidden the Israelite spies. Because of her faith, bravery, and return of help she rendered to the Israelite spies, she and her family were saved. She also obeyed the instruction given to her by the spies to tie a scarlet cord on her window. God's mercy stood strong even in the middle of judgment. While the city fell, faith preserved her family. Her choice to believe spared generations. Walls don't fall because we yell loud enough. They fall when we walk in obedience. The story of Jericho isn't just about broken bricks. It's about unshakable trust in a God who fights for his people. What walls are you circling in silence today? What breakthrough lies just beyond your shout? The victory wasn't in the shouting. It was in the walking. Victory came, but Joshua didn't celebrate with noise. He sat beside a fire and wrote. Maybe he was recording God's faithfulness, or maybe he was praying for the journey ahead. Because Jericho was only the beginning. The promised land still waited, and faith still had battles to fight. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder of God's power. Subscribe to Silent Scrolls for more journeys through ancient truth. Let's walk in faith together. This story is found in the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. Book of Joshua, chapter 5, verse 13, through Joshua, chapter 6, verse 27. May you be blessed as you subscribe and share this video.